as citizens of this marvelous country we're in, we have to, number one, learn how it works. How is it decisions are made? And second, how can we each be part of that decision-making process?
And it's not just voting, is it?
No,
it goes
it's
beyond
not. It goes much beyond that. You're in the house that my husband John and I built out of sun-dried adobes made out of the Salt Riverbed in Tempe.
Yes, indeed.
What we try to do in this house is to remind people working in government and for government that civil talk should lead to civic action.
There are many things that I regret about your decision to leave the court when you did, although I certainly respect it and admire it, was that you were one of the only people that ever actually ran for public office.
Yes.
And
True.
you had a better understanding of what elections are about.
Well, today judges are drawn from a different area. In the early days of the country, the Supreme Court members had been governors and this, that, and the other thing. Not any longer. That's changed. You're right.
While you were in the legislative branch, you actually rose to be the
I was majority
leader. There was a woman in the United States.
I think so. And it was a marvelous time when we could really try to find important things that needed correction or changing, and we could get it done.
That was obviously a very historic moment, being, again, the first woman this time to serve on the United States Supreme Court.
Yes, that was major.
Which was, quite an honor. And,
it was, very much so.
And I will say that you distinguished yourself with an extraordinary career on the bench.
Well, I enjoyed the work, I must say. It was terrific.
When you were appointed, you actually said a quote one time that I think is interesting. You said, the important thing about my appointment is not that I will decide cases as a woman, but that I am a woman who will get to decide cases.
Yes,
and
that
that's
was the big breakthrough.
People don't realize what a wonderful thing we have in this country, because our country is founded on an idea. The people who were, we call them the founding fathers, they were really, they had a lot of wisdom in setting up the government the way they did. We're really quite unique. Yes. Because we're founded on an idea, and the idea is that the people are sovereign. In a lot of other countries, it's not that way. And if young people can learn that, they will be more confident of their ability to influence government decisions when they get older.
That's right.
And they will therefore want to participate in doing it. I think so many of our young people today don't understand how the government works. They don't realize they can have a voice in it. It's sort of do-it-yourself government in this country. And they can have an influence, and they have an obligation to get in there and try.
The court is a marvelous institution, and there are only the 9 members, and in each case, it turns out some have been appointed by Democrats, some by Republicans, and you have a mix of backgrounds on the court. The toughest issues end up quite often at the Supreme Court.
For exactly that reason, because they are the toughest.
Yes, and so it's a great privilege to be able to work on things that matter to the country and that are hard to decide, and then you have to do the best you can to make sensible rulings. It seems to me things have been a little less than civil, both at the local, state, and national levels lately. Do you see that? Is there a change?
I think there has been a significant change. I think that we've become more polarized. The approval rating of Congress is now at 11%.
But in those same polls, the Supreme Court had been quite high historically on those ratings, and it also has dropped lately. So I don't know what's going on.
The Supreme Court, I think, You know far better than I do, but there seems to be a certain polarization there that
I don't think
maybe
so,
not.
really.
Well,
they don't all
maybe not.
agree on everything, but they haven't done that for years, so.
As you know, I have the greatest respect for the United States Supreme Court, but the Citizens United decision has unleashed a flood of money that I promise you there will be major scandals. There's too much money.
When you think about what goes on in America today and watching the news, or if you read a paper, you do have to have a fundamental knowledge of the separation of powers and the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, the judiciary. I mean, the lack of public awareness about what the judiciary does is pretty astounding.
Now, today is the day that we celebrate the birthday of the adoption of the Bill of Rights. And I think the Bill of Rights has had an incredible significance for our country.
Right, right.
The Constitution itself, I think, would not have been ratified had it not contained a Bill of Rights, which a couple of states had adopted, like Virginia.
It was the sweetener
It
for
was.
some states to ratify. That is true.
And it's been terribly important for the country.
If you were advising teachers that were teaching civics about the importance of the Constitution, is there any counsel that you might give them or direction in terms of what really is the important thing that people should understand about the Constitution?
Oh, there are several things that, as a citizen, we should know and understand. How it is that citizens interact with officials and agencies of government, and how do you get your concerns across to those who make decisions and run our government, and how can we make things happen as a citizen if we care about it. That's what I think it's very important that we do.
Two quotes which I admired, that you said that everyone is going to grow up to be a citizen, but that democracy is not a spectator sport.
That's right, you have to be part of it. And that's why I think it's so important when the young people are still in school to immerse them in some civics courses so they know how they are part of the decision making that all of us as citizens must do.